Good evening and welcome. My name is Alice Knapp and I'm the CEO of the Ferguson Library. And I'm here tonight at the end of this fabulous year, just very, very grateful for many things. First of all, I'm grateful for the refreshments, the wine and the water that was donated by Michelle and Michael Sabino. So if we could give them a round of applause. I'm grateful for the fabulous friends of the Ferguson Library. And if you are not a member, just see one of the volunteers out here. We would love to sign you up. And one of the reasons I do call them our secret sauce, they are one of the reasons why the Ferguson Library is so great. You saw the PowerPoint presentation that listed off everything that they do, but they understate what they do. The literary competition they do for grades for children, students in grades 3 through 12, the books for babies that every baby born in Stanford gets a book is just really what makes us just such a great community. I'm grateful that I live in a community that stood behind me when we in the library when we became a book sanctuary library, the second in the country, the first in the state. And I'm even more grateful that we're ending our author series program this year free of charge to the community. Thank you, friends, for that. And we're ending it with two fabulous people who I've actually had the pleasure to see speak before. So I know you're in for a delightful evening. Deborah Posnick is known around this area for her delicious food. Deborah's cooking quickly received wide acclaim in culinary circles. At the age of 28, she was selected one of the 10 best new American chefs by Food and Wine magazine. In 1990, Deborah was named Chef of the Year by the Chefs of American Association, and a year later was the recipient of the coveted Rising Chef of the Year award by the James Beard Foundation. Deborah was also the first American to receive the prestigious Moreau Award for culinary excellence from the Frederick Wildman and Sons Company. In 1994, after 7 years of head chef status in New York City, Deborah moved to Connecticut and, to our great delight, opened the doors up to Odalise. It is so good that Odalise catered the board's annual dinner this year, and probably will be for the next several years. Lidia Bastianich. That's all I really think I need to say, right? Lidia Bastianich is an Emmy award-winning public television host, best-selling cookbook author, successful restaurateur, and owner of a flourishing food and entertainment business. Most importantly, she has accomplished all of this by marrying her two passions in life, the family and food, to create and multiply culinary endeavors alongside her two children, Joseph and Tanya. Welcome. Thank you.
I think it's
Are we on?
Yeah.
Well, once again, it is a thrill for me to be able to interview Lidia. She has such amazing stories. And if you guys are going to really enjoy hearing about her background and all that if you haven't. So I definitely want to dive into the new book for sure. But I think if you haven't heard her backstory, really, you're growing up in Puglia and all of that, I think that's just an interesting place to start, because I think it's led you to the woman you are and the chef that you are. So I think there's no story without hearing a little bit about the background.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm going to just take a moment because there's somebody special here, and that is Steffi. And Steffi, it's her birthday. We are dear friends. Come here, Steffi. Come. Come over here. So it's your birthday, no? Yes. Turn around. Do you want to tell something to these people? You had a tough and a beautiful life. Just tell them you are not too far from here. Go ahead, tell us.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie, and I'm 26 years old today. And today is my birthday. I'm also a twin, so it's his birthday today too. He's not here with me though, but I do have my friends with me. I brought my entourage, as I often call them.
And you live basically in
I live in Yonkers. I don't know if any of you live in the Yonkers area.
It's the home. It's a very special.
It's a
home.
very special home. We basically take care of medically fragile children with different disabilities, and it's Elizabeth Seton Children's is a very, 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 very special place, and is really near and dear to my heart. And I actually have the CEO here with me tonight, Pat Tercey. And also I have one of my best friends who's also one of my nurses, Joe Core. And I also have Barbara Rossi, who's on our development, Barbara. And I have Kathy Fanzetti here also as well, and her husband Carl.
Are you taking over?
No,
You're very comfortable with that mic, huh?
I am.
All right, good for you. But the name of the home is just, I want them to know.
So I just want you to know it's Elizabeth Seton Children's. So please follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and you can also find us on YouTube.
Okay.
And we are at the other reason we are at because we are going to be building the first young adult center for children who are aging out of Elizabeth Seton. There's no place for them to go. So we need the help and the support of each and every one of you. So if you could reach out in any way to help and to support us, we greatly appreciate it. So thank you for Lydia for being here. So now I'm going to turn it over to my friend Lidia Bastianich. Thank you.
What an introduction, but I think we need to sing happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Steffi. Happy birthday to you. All right. Now you go and listen.
I think I
Thank you, everybody.
out of a job if Steffi was up here.
Huh?
I think she would do a great job up here.
Tell you. Let me tell you, she is, we occasionally, we have a plan. We're going to do something there too. So when you're planning something, let everybody know, get on the list. We'll be doing something special for the house.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
in May sometimes? Okay, in May. So now,
That's great. Back
sorry,
to-
thank you all for giving me this opportunity. She's a dear friend. It's very close to my heart. So, yes, my story. I came to the United States. I was 12 years old as an immigrant. I was born in a part of Italy. If you look at Italy, and then looking at it like this, the booth on the right-hand corner, now it's Croatia. There's a little peninsula called Istria, and that was Italy. And I was born there, 47 at the end of the war, just the war had ended. And Italy lost the war, and that part was given by the Paris Treaty to the newly formed communist Yugoslavia. So we were caught behind the Iron Curtain. There was an opportunity to go back, to migrate, but my mother, right after the war, then she just expected me, so she didn't really said, let's stay at home. Where am I going to go with the child? And life wasn't easy. You see, if you're born on a border, whatever you are in Europe, you speak more than one language. That's a given, So Italian was what we were, what we are, what we spoke, but we also spoke, it was then Yugoslavian. That area was also under the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. So some of the things that I cook, you see, gee, Lidia, you're making strudel, you're making sauerkraut. Where does that come from? It actually comes from that sort of borderline situation where you speak more than one language, where you absorb more than one culture, if you will. You're basically one culture, but you speak more than one language, and also understand it. And I think that's you know, maybe more of that should be done by everybody, understanding and connecting with other cultures, eating each other's food, and really getting to know. I was just interviewed today, and regarding the situation and food and my new special that we're going to talk about, and I said, you know, I think we should have food diplomacy, because food is positive. You know, I think these diplomats should sit around the table, eat each other's food, and discuss possibly the borders and whatever. But I think that would calm a little bit down. So from in actually 1956, my parents decided they had to move on, because my mother was a teacher, and they wanted her to be in the Communist Party and whatever, and she just it didn't work for her. My father he was a mechanic. He had a little business. He had 2 trucks. They took the trucks and deemed him a capitalist, put him in jail. So life was difficult. We couldn't speak Italian. We couldn't go to church, all of those things. And my parents decided, now when the border went down, we had some relatives that were left on the Italian side in Trieste. So, you know, we had somebody on the other side, but you couldn't go. They wouldn't allow the whole family to go visit the family. So my mother, my brother, and my parents had decided, not telling us, that they would ultimately make a plan on how to escape. So my mother, my brother, and I were allowed to go see my cousins in Trieste. And after about 10 days, at night, my father escaped, and he literally escaped the border. He was shot at, and dogs were running after him, and whatever, but he made it. And we then realized that you know, we're not going back, you know, to where that we are going to stay. But because the Yugoslavs had changed our names, we didn't have the passports, we didn't have the papers. We had to go to, my parents went to the police. Ultimately, we registered, and they put us in a refugee camp. So we lived for 2 years in San Saba. San Saba is now a museum, but it was a refugee camp, and we lived there 2 years. And prior to that, it was a Nazi holding camp. So it had really a dark feelings and setting, but we stayed there for 2 years, awaiting for an opportunity to move on. And ultimately, in 1958, Dwight Eisenhower was the president. He opened the immigration for people fleeing communism, and the Catholic Charity ultimately brought us to the United States. So I am very grateful and very elated. And they put us in a hotel. Mind you, my story is so parallel to what's happening today that, you know, I think maybe also I speak of it openly and willingly, because, you know, to understand what the reality is, and, you know, and immigrants and taking, but, you know, there's 2 sides of the story also, because as an immigrant, you know, I am forever grateful. There's no better country in this world than America. I came here at 12. I always say I have 2 of the best sort of countries in the world behind me, Italian and American. How can you beat that? You know, and you know, that is what made Lidia who Lidia is. The creativity of the Italians, and then the opportunities and the sort of marketing, the business sense of that America offered. And we you know, my brother and I, he and of course my parents, but I remember my brother too, we really got onto it. We had to work hard. We had to make the best. We had to become American. We had to really do the best that this country offered, and we did. And the one thing that I always emphasize is that being an immigrant is, yes, accepting, taking, and working ahead, and then is given back. You need to give back to the country, to the people that welcomed you. You know, when we first came, I'm sorry you took me down this path.
No,
but it's, I think it's appropriate, also the season and all of that. When we first came here, we had nobody here. We didn't speak the language, and the charities and kind people set us in a little apartment. First it was in Jersey, and then we came to Astoria, and the locals, the people, they came. They brought us food. They brought us the chairs, clothes, everything. It was amazing. They really set us all up, and then from then on we worked hard, and we took the opportunities, and let me tell you, there is no greater country.
True. That's true. But you did have your childhood really had, if you haven't read My American Dream, she sort of sums it up in a nutshell. It's a really visual read, and it's a beautiful recount of your whole childhood. And I love really talk about like a farm to table life. You really lived a childhood regarding food that no other children, when you understood the barnyard animals, the pig that you raised would be on the table. That was part of it, not any, you're going to slaughter it, you're going to see it done, you're going to milk the goats. Like you really live that life, which I think is just so embedded in the way you cook.
I did. I was, at that time it might have seemed hard or whatever, but I would think I was really blessed because food was scarce. So my maternal grandmother lived a little bit outside the city, and my parents put my brother and I with her in this little town to be away from the city and the politics of the city. And she raised the animals, grew the food to feed the whole family, not just us. So in that we had chickens, we had ducks, we had geese, we had rabbits, we had goats. I mean, I would milk the goats. That was breakfast, milk it nice and warm. And the froth, that was cappuccino for me, never mind.
I love that. I know.
And we had two pigs every year. The slaughter was around November. We had olive trees. We would November again, late November, the harvest. I would climb up the olive, get the olives, and they were ripe. And I saw, the stone actually at that time, and the oil running. And Grandma would have warm bread, and you take that warm bread and you dunk it in the oil that's running. I mean, the milk fresh. The pig we made the sausage, the prosciutto, I was young, so 8, 9, 10, but I was the little runner, the helper. I remember when and I know you're going to go, oh, but when they slaughtered the pig, they usually what would happen is that the butchers would come to town, and whoever had pigs would get online. 2 days for me, and then 2 days the next neighbor, and the people would help each other. So they would take the pig, and they had 2 barrels, the wine barrels, and a plank. They put a plank from one to the other, picked up the pig. 4 of them held the.
There's a picture of this in the book too, if you really want a visual.
4 of them held the legs, and the butcher would really pierce the heart. Because a quick thing. And my grandmother was there. This is with the tub. They would turn the animal, and all the blood, she would collect all of the blood, and we would make blood sausage right away. We would go in the kitchen, and that would help. I would put polenta, I would put cornmeal, I would put raisins and all of that, because the first things that you eat of the animal are the most perishable. So the blood, and after that the liver came, and so on down the line. And I recall the whole line. So I was in a situation where she would. The garden, of course, go dig up the potatoes. I would dig out the potatoes with the little hoe, and potato is a bush, and the potatoes are on the roots, and you pull up the whole bush, and then underneath the potatoes, and some of them are left in the dirt. And if she did a whole row, I would collect the little ones from the dirt. And the potatoes was, I can still recall, warm in my hand. It almost looked like it had life. And these are the things that we ate. That potato went into the oil that was just drained to fry, and I had my fried potatoes. And so these collections of memories, of flavors, because you all know that when you get a smell, it takes you someplace. It takes you. So the olfactory sense is a great collector of memories. It brings you back to situations. And, I collected a lot of them, because also when you were a child, you are just building, you're collecting, you are forming. And all of this big library of flavors was with me. And when we went to Trieste, and I realized that we are not going back because we didn't know as children. I realized I wasn't going back to see my grandmother and my animals. I had my rabbits. I would collect clover. They loved clover, and all of that. And so I think, because a lot of time that I think about what gives you this passion of cooking. Why? I think that from then on, I realized that I wanted to retain those moments that I couldn't get, that left behind. And I would think about it, and they stayed with me. And in cooking, I wanted to recapture those moments till this day. That's my passion is. And it all started on those basic.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. When did you recall as an adult that those childhood memories are what became really the way you wanted to cook and what was really a part of you? Did you realize at that time, when you're young, you don't think
No,
this is
I
special, everybody's doing this, but what point did you look back and go, oh my gosh, like what?
Oh, I
know.
was, well, I had a restaurant. I think it was when in Lidia, ultimately, I said, well, what drives me? And what drives me is the connection to those wonderful memories that I didn't want to let go of. And I think that it's for all of us, it's important that we connect that way. But, also from the camp, we were so the camp didn't have school, mind you, and it's sad because even today's situation, children in immigrant camp lose 2 years of schooling as they're traveling through the camps, because I know, because I do it with the Jesuit refugee organization. We do fundraising to build schools for children in their camps, So the fact of going back and giving back, I just have this need. But let me tell you when did I realize? So when I was in the camp, a woman that had an autistic son heard that there's a teacher in the camp. She came and she asked my mother if she would work for her. And in turn, she paid for my school and my brother's school in a nuns college. But so I went to this college, and in the morning I would go early with my mother, and the nuns put me in the kitchen, because I guess they just, I would be in the kitchen with them, cleaning the potatoes, the apples, whatever. So I began right away. And that was my first kind of commercial kitchen.
Yeah, and I think that's fascinating, because I think you had that experience. You had experience, I think, with 2 aunts, and I think one was a personal chef. So you already at a young age had like a few experiences as far as the way your aunts cooked, which I think was a little bit different, experience with the nuns. So you even had that, like, besides the food, that experience with food. And
right. My aunt lived in Italy. She was a personal chef. And so she cooked kind of what I did with her, I remember, was, even though grandparents and all of that, they would go, they were hunters, because in the winter, that's what, but she would cook game. I remember going to the market with her, and these beautiful pheasants with these beautiful feathers, the male feathers, and then helping to pluck those feathers with her and cooking in the sauce. So sort of my passion, my connection to food grew slowly. And then, of course, when we came to the United States, that was go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but I love the part that when you came to the United States, I think you were like, Wonder Bread, I love it. Peanut butter, I love it. Most chefs would be like, I come from Italy, like Wonder Bread. But I love the reading. You're like, I loved all of that. I love the prepared foods. Like, it cracked me up that you were so like, this is wonderful.
I did, because when we first came as immigrants, they put us in a hotel, and they give you a subsidy, whatever, it's my mother, to go and feed the children until they found an apartment for us. And we were on 36th Street and 7th and 6th Avenue, right on the catty corner. There was the Horn and Hearted, and we loved that. My brother and I, you put a nickel in, you open this magic, and the food came out, and then we would stay there, wait for how is the food going to get back in there?
Gosh.
But and then there was a little deli, And my mother, milk, bananas, and Wonder Bread. That's because my mother was frugal. She's going to say, this money is not mine. I'm going to have to return it. She didn't want to spend so much. So we ate basically Wonder Bread, bananas, and milk. That was until she decided to add, we found peanut butter. And then we found jelly. And I still love peanut butter and jelly now. Yeah.
And peanut bananas. It's a great combination.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, we should talk about your latest beautiful book, which I think is it's really the most personal book. I feel like, I know the other ones are all personal, but I feel like this is a really special collection of, dealing with family and family back to the table and your grandchildren and choosing those special recipes. What made you write it now?
Well, it is my 16th book. So it takes me 2 years to write a book. And then I base my show on that book for 2 years, so that you actually have out there, you can have the book, you can watch the show, you can follow me. And ultimately, and I get lots of connection emails. And I'm asked by you, you're curious, like you're here today, you're curious, you want to know Lidia better. So they wanted to know, what does my family love? What are the family food that we eat at home? What did grandma cook? What does Joe like? What does Tanya like? What does Miles like? And these are basically the recipes that we do a lot at home. Although, and you say, okay, they're grandma's recipe and so on and like, but I have some going into the future because the kids, my grandkids, like in it, you will find a kale salad. Now, I never had kale salad when I was young. We had kale, but you make like the Tuscan soup or braised kale or whatever. But I have 2 granddaughters, 20 somewhat. They're watching everything, the weight, the this, the that. So kale salad. She says, Grandma, you got to make this kale salad. So the kale salad, avocado. We don't have avocado in Italy, but it's in the book. This kale salad. So she showed me the kale. She told me, you have to massage it, Grandma. You have to make it tender.
My gosh.
Yeah, and I added pistachio to it, and then I added a little bit of the Italian dressing vinegar with some mustard, with some egg yolks, and it's a recipe in this book. Now, yes, my grandmother didn't do that, but it's kind of how the family moves forward and where food is going, actually.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you ever felt the pressure to modernize your food, although I feel like not so much, but
no, Deborah, because I have a commitment, and you've been around chefs, you are a chef all these years. There's different kinds of chefs. There's chefs that really focus on their own capabilities and inventiveness and so on, and that's a lot of credit, and I think it's quite difficult. I was always committed to my birth culture, which is Italian, and bringing that to my American family now. So I was committed to the Italian food, transporting it from Italy here as close to tradition as possible.
Because what did you think of the Italian food when you got here and everything was like smothered in cheese?
Yeah, the Italian American food was a surprise in a sense, We didn't, you don't recognize some of it. There's tomatoes, there's oregano, there's basil, but you don't recognize it's different. But and I'm curious, as I said, I am in the restaurant business, the first restaurant, 71, so 50 somewhat years in the restaurant business, 25 years on public television, this book. So, I do a lot of research, and I need to update myself. I go back to Italy 3-4 times a year to do research, to whatever. What can I bring? What is Italy? Where is it now? So I can bring the reality of what's happening. And so, when I saw the Italian American food, I said, I got to get to the bottom of this. Even though our first restaurant in 71 in Forest Hills was Italian American food, because when you open a business, you do research. What are the menus? What sells? What fills? And all these and veal parmigiana, chicken parmigiana, eggplant, Sunday sauce, all of these things. So we did hire, because I wasn't yet. I didn't consider myself a full-fledged chef in 1971. We hired an Italian-American chef. And for 10 years, I became his sous chef. I worked with him.
Mhm.
So I really learned the Italian-American cuisine well. But not only that, I traveled a lot and I went to the, why? Why is it? Well, in simple words, is the adaptation of what you remember, what you recall, the techniques with the products that you find that are similar as possible to
Right.
what you remember. Now, the first big influx of Italian immigrants in the United States was at the end of the 1800s. And they came from Sicily, Campania, which is Naples, Calabria, so the Italian-American cuisine is based in those cuisines. It has that flavor. Now, the Calabrese, you see that capocollo that's red that's Calabria. The peperoncino, that's Calabrese, whatever. So, and that was all the Italian Americans. And the tomato is an American. It only came to Italy after the discovery of Columbus. And so, but the Italians are amazing. Italy is smaller than California. But it has the magic, I think, is in its climate and it's in its topography. You have the Alps
Mhm.
on the north, and you have the Apennines going down the spine, and you have oceans all around, and this creates specific microclimates, small microclimates which really are conducive, and the regional people really learned how to work with their earth, with the climate and all of that. The best climate for the wines, whether it's in Piedmont, in Friuli, we have great whites, the tomatoes, Naples, and all of that. So when the tomato first came, of course, the Italians right away, they worked with it, and they came with the great Samarzana, so that make great for sauce.
Yeah.
But when the Italians came here, the tomatoes was the big tomato, juicy.
Yeah.
So when it's big, it's juicy, a lot of acidity, a lot of seeds. Seeds are tannins, woods, and that created the sauce bitter. So hence the sugar in the sauce, which you don't do in Italy. That's garlic. Garlic is in Italy. Those of you that went to Italy, I mean, you see it, but it's not abused in any way. It's not, it's not. But the one thing that they did find in America was garlic, so that the early Italians, garlic, that's Italy, and they used a lot. So the Italian American cuisine has a lot of garlic. Also, the Sunday sauce. You have the Sunday sauce cook in 2-3 hours. Very well. It's relative. You have to discuss. We can talk about that.
Is it gravy or sauce? I was going to ask you.
I'll address that too. But it's cooks. You put sugar. You put a lot of garlic, a lot of dry oregano, and lots of meats. In Sunday, that's in Sunday sauce in Italy. It's not that. You go around Campania or Naples, and they put a little piece of cotica, salted pork, and a little piece of fresh pork. But why? Because these immigrants really didn't have food. They came here, meat was abundant. And into the sauce, sausages, meatballs.
So were you appalled at what was happening to your Italian cuisine?
No, actually, it was good. Some of it was good. I just was kind of, I needed to understand the why, And so once you understand, it makes sense. And I think it's a great cuisine. It's a wonderful cuisine. It's a parallel cuisine to its mother cuisine, if you will. But it's not the cuisine that you will find.
But do you think Lidia followed that same path, or do you feel like it went back to more of the
in
tradition?
Lidia, when I went into Lidia, I wanted to go back to the regional traditional. But having said that, I still had to keep some of the Italian American. I added the risotto, I added the polenta, I added the ossobuco, all of these things that are more kind of really regional Italian.
Right.
But I had chicken parmigiana because you had to have it.
So I hear.
So a sauce or gravy? Okay.
Oh
No.
my God.
Raise your hands. How many says sauce? Put it down. How many says gravy? Sauce wins, right?
I'm no fool. Yes.
But no, there is a difference. Salsa or sugo. In Italian, no, salsa or sugo. So salsa is a sauce that has no meat or whatever, just marinara, tomato. Sugo in Italian is when there is some meat flavoring it. So gravy, I would say, would be more like the sugo in Italian, with some meat, and salsa would be the sauce. Okay.
My goodness. Well, I'm not going to ask you what's your favorite recipe in the book because I hate when people ask you that. But I'm going to ask you which recipes do you think people might be discouraged to try that you would encourage them to try? Because I think there's a couple in there that people might go,
I think, there's, and whether I'm on television, whether I am in my book, I'm very conscious because I'm not writing this book or doing the shows to show how much I know. I am doing this because I would like to transmit something. I would like you to get something out of it. Because after all, if you give me half an hour of your time watching me, you need to take something away. You can't just, and so I am very conscious in making the recipes straightforward, simple, but Italian cuisine is like that. And if I revert back to my grandmother's kitchen, not because of grandma's, because that's the philosophy. They had the oil, they had maybe a garlic or an onion, and whatever the vegetable was and whatever the pasta was, and was simple. It was not. And if you were lucky enough, cheese, a little grating cheese to put on top. So I think that in the book there's it's
like I
quite
love
doable.
the liver recipe. I grew
Huh?
up having liver. I grew up eating liver. So I
You-
love that, but not so many people do.
But I think going back to my first descriptions of that, I think we have to understand that that's part of the animal, and it's all nourishing in the right proportions, in the right eating it the right way. I know now that ever more we're heading toward vegetables, vegetarian, whatever. I love vegetables. Italian cuisine is basically vegetables. Very small pieces of proteins. A small piece of protein will go a long way to
Yep.
flavor a lot of food in an Italian cuisine. So it's the recipes in there. There's some big pieces of meat roast, which would be a holiday like, and all of that. And the long cooking, the braising, the roasting. I think those are the ones that take a lot. Which one did you find that you?
No, the rabbit. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like,
Oh.
maybe not everybody
Well,
would,
because
but I love
I
rabbit.
can't give up altogether. I need to stick
Absolute-
to my
100%.
roots. I had liver and I had rabbit, and I had rabbit as my friend who used to feed them, whatever. And then I had rabbit as
Then
for
they were
lunch.
dinner.
Then for lunch. And it was understood,
Yeah.
somehow it was understood
Yeah.
that, and you appreciate it. Maybe you respect and appreciate even more. You feed those animals, you make them grow, that you have a relationship and whatever. And then ultimately they feed you, they
Yeah,
keep you
yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
So you have to really respect. I know that every part of the animal, even the tail, was salted and used.
I do love the book though that you give a lot of substitution possibilities. I love that you give the serving suggestions of what to serve with them. So not everything is so
Yeah.
set in stone. You can use this or you can use that, which is always, I think, helpful for people too.
Oh, I think, the question also is to empower the
Mhm.
audience, to give them,
Make it
you
their
can
own.
do that.
Yeah.
You make mistakes. Okay. Make it once, twice, 3 times. And also you can modify it. Modify it. Oh, my family doesn't like, I don't know, squash. Use zucchini. It's not I usually also tell you, if you do change your proteins or whatever, keep in mind the cooking time and the liquid that you will need to get there. Those are the 2 things. If you alter a recipe, those are the 2 things that you have to be mindful for. What's the cooking time of what you're replacing? Is it longer or less? And if it's less, then you have to diminish the liquid, whatever.
Mhm.
And if it's more, if it cooks more time braising, then you need to add more liquid. So it's logical. It's common sense, I say, to a certain extent. And, everybody can manage in the kitchen.
What winter vegetables are you now that it's the season?
I like big green vegetables, the
Leafy
broccoli, the
greens?
rapa, the chicory, all of that. Escarole, I like all of that. But I like also the squash family.
Yeah, I like the squash
I like them all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. Is there something that's in your kitchen always? Like, what's the ingredient that you are like, whether it's pantry or food, that's always there. You grab for it, you use it.
Well, you know, certainly the olive oil, the garlic, the onions, and some cheese, some grana is always in there. And of course, if you go in the cupboards, you know, the dry pasta, the anchovies, the olives, you can make meals.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, do you have a no recipe that it's something that like we could all make? That's just like, what's your throw together without a recipe, kind of no fail?
as basic as garlic and oil. So you start with the oil, the garlic, and don't burn your garlic, and peperoncino, aglio olio, a peperoncino, and then you can build from there. You can put vegetables in there. You can put zucchini. You can put broccoli di rape. You can put proteins. The proteins, of course, will take longer than the vegetables or the garlic. So do you saute the sausages before or the bacon before? Yes, this is common sense. But you just build on a basis, and you can enrich it. And you don't need too much enrichment. I think you have your condiments. You have your vegetables. Proteins, if you choose to do so. And then, the carrier of all of this, whether it's rice, whether it's polenta, whether it's pasta, it's in the Italian tradition. That's the carrier. And now, people love pasta, but starch. Just change the ratio. Put more vegetables, more proteins, whatever in your pasta, and just cut the carbohydrates in half. It's common sense.
Just like that. Okay. All right. Now that Christmas is coming, who are you cooking for? What's on the Christmas menu? What's always on your Christmas menu?
Well, I think, the Christmas Eve is maybe even more felt than and it's the fish. Now there's the tradition, 7 fishes, 13 fishes, or whatever. That's south of Italy does that. We in the north don't do. I come from northeast,
Okay.
as I said. We don't count, but we have to.
Is there fish, or you just don't count how many are on?
We don't count how many, but it has to be fish. Bacala has to be in the table. So up there where we are, I do bacala mantecato, which is the bacala which is dried. Air dried. It's like wood. I have to. It really is. You see it in fish stores.
Yeah.
It hangs. It's like wood. You touch it, it's wood. You have to sort of with the mallet. I remember my grandfather. We used to beat it, and then we soak it for 2-3 nights, and then you cook it, and then you whip it like a brandade, and you whip it just with olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper. Nothing else. And it comes into like a mousse, the delicious.
Sounds
We
delicious.
have to have that. We have to have. I know my father or my mother are no longer with me, but my father had to have his bacala. And when I put the bacala there, the family's together again. It's kind of yeah.
Do they all
That-
help you? Are they all helping you cook?
They do. They help. We have, and then octopus, of course. We do it with potato salad, clams, little clams. A little pasta with
yeah.
clams. Yeah, so it's some brodetto with polenta, monkfish, skate. I like all these kind of odd fishes, but because they're the best. I mean, skate,
Yeah.
delicious.
So
You
good.
guys use skate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not enough. Yes. Yeah, it's great. It has that cartilage kind of, and you can cook it. You have to take the skin off because the skin is kind of like scrapey, and then you leave the cartilage. It has like a cartilage bone in there, but it's not a real bone. Don't be afraid. And then you cook with that because that gives you flavor. And then you sort of pull the meat off the cartilage and eat a little bit of cartilage too. It's good for you.
Yeah. Do you serve every meal a family style at your home?
Some yes, some no, depends. When you are 25, 26, 27, you need to do plating. Everything becomes difficult.
Yeah.
So the system that I use, and I recommend all, is the antipasto. The antipasto is the easiest. If you make a spread of the antipasto, the cold cuts, the cheese, the marinated vegetables, salads. I put a lot of salads in there so that's kind of balances. And you have people help themselves. Then usually a soup like tortellini in brodo or a nice capon soup. For the holidays, we like our soup. We have a tradition of soup, a clear soup, because you're eating a lot. And again, that comes in actually I put the whole pot, whether it's if we have 2 tables, 2 pots, and then we dish it out, from on the table for everybody. The main course usually, whether I'll have a roast pork or a roast, American prime ribs. We like lots of vegetables,
Yeah.
all family style in the center of the
Oh,
table,
nice.
and let everybody just pass and help. Dessert, I go back to a buffet table instead of, so once they're finished eating, they kind of relax, you clean, you this, you that. And in the meantime, you have the space where you had your first buffet sort of clean up, and you put all the desserts there, and the fruits and the nuts and the panettone and everything. And usually people always bring some, so you put it all out there.
Yeah.
And then you have either the espresso machine or whatever. And so everybody kind of, you got to put a little bit of grappa outside, sure. Amaro, a little bit of amaro. This is,
Mhm.
and this just carries on. And then when you're finished with all of that, it's because everything is, whatever is left over, you kind of consolidate, and it's right on the stove. Then you begin to uncover again, whoever wants.
Little bit of leftovers. So your kids are there, the grandkids are there. You have a whole.
My brothers, his kids, they're coming. We have some coming from Portland, from Arizona.
Yeah, nice. And you've got, I think next week you've got a PBS special coming out, 25 years on PBS television,
Right.
which is amazing, really. Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait. Tell us what to expect, but tell us what is
On the
preview.
18th. It's Monday. I think it's at 8:00, and it's across the United States. So PBS, my launching or supporting station is GBH, which is Boston. So it's they kind of organized it and made it, and it is my life. Some because all these years, that 25 years, I collected a lot of footage, but also going back to my childhood, all the pictures that we have and all that, it's all incorporated. And then what's nice is that I go back to the places that I came here as an immigrant, as a young girl, and the friends that I made, and the stores that I used to, and what was to me, like my relationship with Christopher Walken.
Yes.
So he when we moved to Astoria, his family bakery, Walken's Bakery, was across the street, and the father was a German immigrant, and really did some great stuff. And I was, I think, 14. I went to apply for a job. I told them I was 16. I was always a big girl, so I got away with it. And they took me, gave me a part-time job on Friday nights, Saturdays, and Sunday in the bakery. First with the boxes, making it, shaping, and then helping to sell. And I would love to go again, in the back with the bakers and whatever. But on Sundays, a lot of times the bakers were finished. They did their morning, then they would leave home. So if anybody came, or they wanted a birthday cake or something, the cakes were already, but I had to decorate it and write on it. And I used to get really excited. And Christopher had they were 3 brothers, 3 of them, and all 3 of them worked on the weekends. The father had them there. And we always laughed because Christopher's job, and he used to hate it, was to fill the jelly donuts with the jelly. That was his job. If you see him, ask him, can you fill some jellies? He always laughs. But we remained friends. It was nice.
Put on the show, right?
Huh?
I think he's been on the show.
He comes to the house. He's going to be on this Monday show. Yeah, he came.
Great.
He came to dinner with. I remember he was. Again, I was young, and he's a few years older than I am, and he loved dancing. He used to go to dancing school. Yeah, he was a great dancer.
Knew?
And I remember the first show that his mother invited me and I guess some friend. It was Best Foot Forward. He did it with Liza Minnelli. So there I was, Liza Minnelli, Christopher Walken, and me in the audience, looking. That was the beginning of their career.
Wow. That's amazing. What are some of the shows that people, I'm sure they write to you about? Do they have favorite shows that you always get a lot of sort of fan mail on, or something that, particular favorites that they have?
It's across the board. You know,
Ones with your mom, actually,
talking
yeah.
about the liver. I just got one today. I was looking at it. She says, Lydia, I was so glad to see you cook liver veneziana. My mother used to cook it all the time with onions, and sometimes she would put bacon in
good.
it. And it kind of says, yeah, when I sometimes fight with the producers and whatever, but American rabbits, I said, but I grew up on this. Eventually they'll get it. Let's put it,
Yeah.
because you know why? Also, it makes sense. A rabbit is lean, very flavorful. It's very lean, and it environmentally it makes really sense because the rabbit multiplies quickly, grows fast, and doesn't need all that much like a cow. To get a good prime rib, you need 3-4 years or whatever. And how much do they eat, and how much do they of with the gas that they release and all of that? A rabbit doesn't do that. So eat rabbit.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the show. That's going to be an amazing recap of everything you've done.
Yeah.
And
It's an honor. It's an honor to be, it's because it's my peers. It's not only my peers, it's the peers in the industry of television or whatever, public television. And, all the people.
I know, and everybody's loved watching it, filming it in your own home, in your own kitchen,
Yeah.
with your mom there. Like
Yeah,
that's
That's-
fantastic.
Well, that happened. I don't know how much time we have, but, I
think
can
we're
talk.
good. We have a few more minutes.
Okay. So what was I
About your like cooking in your own house with your mom.
right? So how I got on television. So this Lidia restaurant. So 70 to about 81, we were out in Queens. We had 2 restaurants. I kind of helped the chef. Lidia decided, well, I'm ready. So let's do the real food that I cook at home. And we did. It wasn't an easy opening because coming into the cities, way
It's
over
a lot,
budget and
yeah.
all of that. But anyway, we did, and I began cooking all the things that we cooked at home. Risotto was, of course, one of them. One day, who walks in? Julia Child and James Beard. They were both, big people, and they came in. She wanted risotto, mushroom risotto. She loved it. She came back. They came back the next week. We made risotto again. She wanted to know. She wanted me to teach her how to make risotto. We became friends.
my
She came
gosh.
over the house,
I've
and
never made risotto before.
No,
No, I
no.
love it.
I guess not.
Not yeah.
And she then ultimately she says, Lydia, I would like you to be on my show. She was just doing the Master Chef
Yeah.
series. And I think there were 2 or 3 women. I was one of them. And that's when the producer said, we did 2 shows. And he said, Lydia, you're pretty good. How about a show of your own? And she encouraged me. She said,
That's
Lydia,
fantastic.
do it. What I did to French, you do for Italian
Yeah,
cuisine.
wow.
And that's how, and she was on PBS. And I told the producer 2 things, that I'm be on PBS because, that's where I
Yeah.
wanted to be. And secondly, that we film it in my home because I wasn't used to a studio. It's my home. I know where everything is. I can, and so in between we stopped a little bit as my mother was getting old, and we actually Westport in Connecticut we came
Like
to.
Clark
Yeah,
Kitchens, right?
but it was the beginning of my taping of my show was in my home, and now it's again because with COVID we came back into the house, nice small kind of limited filming, and I kind of felt just so comfortable, and the people liked it, and we do it now
Yeah.
from my home.
No,
still.
and it comes across in the show too. It just
Yeah.
feels good. So
Okay.
yeah. Well, anyway, I think our time is about up, but I know we're going to do questions and answers right now, and we're going to pass around the mic for that. So, right over here. Just talk loud.
Really big voice.
What's your favorite indulgence for
My
food?
favorite
With food.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I have one favorite. I love the seasons. I could have pasta every day of the week. Yes, I would say. And the simpler, the better. Vegetables, and so do I have at different times different. I love fish. I love sardines. I love mackerel. I love prosciutto. Not one thing. I don't have one special thing. Truffles when in season, but not even. See, it's okay. It's good, but I don't need to have truffles all the time.
Do you have a favorite quiz? I'm sorry.
Is there one food I don't like? Yes, cilantro. Ah, I can't take it. It's like a mouthful of soap. But they say that's genetically. Yeah.
I was going to ask you if there's another cuisine besides Italian, if you were going to eat
I
out
like
where
Thai and Chinese. I like the
Chinese.
Asian cuisines.
we have another question. here.
Whatever they.
Oh, right here.
What is your favorite town to visit in Italy?
Again, another thing. Favorite. Italy needs to be visited for many different reasons, whether it's the arts, the beauty, but as a food person, it's seasonal. October, November, I'll go up to Piedmont for the truffles. June, July, I'll go to Sicily for the sardines, for the eggplants, and so on. In springtime, I'll stay in Friuli. We do a lot of foraging of wild asparagus and all of these. So it depends on the season and what that. Puglia. With the chicory and the favas and all of that. So depends on the season and what products are best in which region.
Back there.
My name is Ferruccio Herbatin. Which is your favorite fish?
Hi, Ferruccio Herbatin. You're from Istria?
Signora Bastianich, how are you? I went to school with your husband, Felice.
Oh, okay.
Ferruccio Herbatin. Rabats.
Okay, rabbits. Okay, that's a nice.
Which is
look.
your, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Which is your favorite fish?
My favorite fish. Again, I like sardoni, not sardines. The smaller the anchovies.
Sardoni.
Sardoni.
They're narrow, more narrow.
Yeah, more narrow. I love those. Whenever I go to the market and I see them, I can eat a pound by myself. I could.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
but I like octopus. I like calamari. Also depends, as long as it's fresh. Okay.
Great.
Hi, it is such a pleasure to meet you, really. I just want to ask, because I notice every show, the gold bracelets. Is there a history behind those bracelets?
Bracelet, first of all, because they don't, and I get sometimes email, oh, you're going to get all the food on it, but they don't collect that much food. I press them up and then I do wash them. So, and I like a little decoration now and then. But, my first set I got when I was 16, my mother had bought them for me and she gave me 5. For my name, Lidia, and I wore them out, and then I couldn't find them. So when I went on one of my trips to Italy, I had them made, 20 of them. But I was wondering, where does this? Because it's somewhat of a regional tradition. So my conclusion, after I've been to India several times, I love it, and in India. A lot of women wear this decorative things. So the Serenissima, the Venetian city-state, which where I came from, was part of that. Great traders with the Orient, spices. And that's why it became such a rich state, because pepper, that's not an indigenous Italian spice. Whether it's cloves, of all of that, they would bring all that up. And I think because this is also kind of a Venetian kind of that area kind of. So I assumed, and I have nothing to prove, that those Venetian travelers not brought not only back spices, but most likely some of these for their women, and it still keeps on going.
Right here?
Hi, Lydia.
Where
I'm
are
over
you?
here.
I can't see you.
Here I am, over here.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hmm.
So, in one of your older cookbooks, I made one of your baked chicken recipes, and it had me salt the chicken like one time, and then a couple hours later, salt it again and salt it again. What's the reason for all the salt? Does it change the, does it
Okay. Salt,
tenderize the chicken, or if you can explain
salt
that?
has different times of cooking reacts differently. And also the size of salt plays, like if you're salting meat or whatever. So the coarser the salt is and you put it on, it will pull out the fluids. So let's say that you want to age a prosciutto or something. It's rubbed with coarse salt first. And that because the salt disintegrates and the process pulls out the liquid. So if you do different things, you want to pull out the body liquid of whatever. It was a whole chicken, maybe, dry it out a little bit, or whatever the recipe was for. And then the second salting, usually because the first salting, although you might say, especially if it is to pull out the fluids, the salt comes out. It doesn't really, some of it will stay, but you have to sort of also gauge around the head. And then the other saltings, finer salting, is where the meat pulls it in. And so it's different salting at different times of your, even if you're braising, let's say, meat and braising, you salt it first. And as you're braising it in a dry pan, the liquid will come out and will ultimately caramelize. You want to get that caramelization. So the liquid comes out and it caramelizes, and you have complexity of flavor, and you don't have the fluids of the meat in there, the body fluids, as you call. And then you continue. So there's different processes in how you use salt.
Does it tenderize the meat at the same time?
Does salt tenderize? To some extent, yes. To some extent, yes. It breaks the membrane of the cell, usually, to some extent. It's not a major, but yes.
Thank you.
Some questions up front.
Hi, Lydia. So I'm doing the Christmas Eve fish cooking this year. And my question is, how do you do it so you're not cooking the entire time everybody is already there gathering in your kitchen? So I'm going to make your lobster fra diavolo.
Okay.
Can I cook the lobster in advance?
Okay, I'll tell you.
Help me, Lydia.
Yeah. I would what I would do, and when I cook lobsters like that, you get a live lobster or fresh lobster? Frozen. That's okay. Okay. You cut it in half. You go through the cut it in half. Okay. You're the one. Okay. Separate the tail and the claws and the little ones from the body up. And you slightly brown. You take all of these pieces and a little bit of flour on the open tail and on the open body. The legs will remain, crack them nonetheless, because then the tail and the claws and all of that you leave aside. You begin your sauce with the bodies and that you have ready, and you make your fra diavolo sauce with that. Okay, you use the small feet, the small claws. You throw that in for taste. The body of the lobster, because a lot of people don't eat that anyway. It comes out. So you make that, and then when you're ready to serve, now the tail has been just a little bit fried. Don't overcook it, just nice. Even the claws, you kind of throw them in. So the next thing, when you're ready to serve, the claws could go in because they take a little longer, and the tails could go in when you throw in your pasta in the water. So they become nice. And so when you serve it, I don't know, do you plate it? Do you do it family style? Okay, so if you played it, you take the sauce that you made, half of it out. Take the pasta, toss it in the sauce, and that's dressed. And so then you plate it in your plates. Now you have in there the claws and the tail. You put whatever you want, half a tail and a claw on each plate, and that's your portion. The heads that are left in there, I usually take them and I just with the tongues, I shake them so that everything falls in there, and then you put them in a bowl and you put them in the center on the table. Anybody that wants to play with the heads, let them play with the heads. But you will have everything cooked in time, and your sauce will be flavorful because it will get the sauce from the head. Okay.
There's a gentleman here in brown.
Thank you so much. My name is Milo. My husband Alex and I will watch a lot your show. So you're pretty much in our living room every night. And
Thank you for inviting me.
yeah, thank you so much. And we love your show. And you always talk about that you pick fresh produce from your childhood garden. So just wondering, what are some of the plants, some of the vegetables and herbs that you plant in your own garden here? Thank you so much, Lidia.
Here, yeah. It's again, certainly the tomatoes, the peppers, and different peppers. I like the banana peppers. I like the round, the bell peppers. I like the peperoncino. So a plant of each or two is enough. Eggplant, cucumbers, Swiss chard, radicchio, but not the radicchio red that you're used to. There's we have radicchio zuccherino, it's called. We plant it like a grass and we cut it, the leaves, and you can cut it 4 or 5 times even, it regrows. So I always have to have some of that. It's in the chicory family. It's very healthy. It's very good. I plant chicory. I have rosemary. I have bay leaves. I just pulled in my bay leaf tree, so protected. I just wrapped up my rosemary. I just trimmed my figs. So all of that is as much as I can get, and of course all the herbs in like the basil, the marjoram, the oregano. I have all of that in little whatever. Okay, thank you. Keep on watching. Keep on cooking.
Hi, Lydia. Back here.
You got it.
My grandmother in the 50s used to make pizza Russe, pizza Dolce. From Naples, do you make pizza from Naples?
We don't make if you go regionally, now it's made all over.
Okay.
But if you go regionally, in my area, we don't make pizza. Even focaccia, if you go to Liguria on the other side, they're known for their focaccia. But pizza is basically in the south, and of course, Naples is the heart. Pizza rustica, pizza dolce could be turned in anything. There's the pizza I have recipes for pizza with sweet pizza with ricotta and grape or whatever. Absolutely.
And what about cannolis?
The what?
Cannolis.
Oh, cannoli, that's Sicilian.
Do you make desserts?
Yeah, we make desserts, but again, we're up there. If you go on regionally, I mean, I make all of this, the cannoli, but if you go regionally up there, we make strudel, putizza, all of these, a lot of yeast-based desserts, and very much influenced by the Austrian-Hungarians, so nice little torts, chocolates, and Linzer tort, and all of that. We do, but a lot of fruit desserts.
And tiramisu?
Tiramisu is Veneto. They say it's a kind of it's a rather recent evolution of where somebody had some cookies left, some coffee, and mascarpone. The old story, pull it all together. But it's from Treviso.
Yeah, remember the biscotti and all that?
Biscotti.
We have time for one more question.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you very much for spending time with us this evening, Ms. Bastianich. Figs are a unique delicacy that I think are not represented well in American cuisine because we pick one and it's not ripe. In Italy, when is the best time to be in Italy if you wanted a fresh fig?
Fig, they have two main seasons in Italy. At least we had it there, and the same tree can produce figs in both seasons. Fioroni, which are big flowers, are the big, softer figs that come usually in June early. And then the second batch that comes in August, late August. And, they could be black figs, they could be red figs inside, white figs inside. But fig, the whole sort of Mediterranean, it's a big part of everybody's menus, if you will, as far as dessert and everything else. Here in the States, the East Coast, the climate, I have 2 fig trees and I get some figs, but they have to be babied. California, on the other hand, has plenty of figs. The black mission fig is delicious. And I think that they use, because, I travel to California and do cooking there. And in the summertime, when they're in season, they're beautiful. There's an Italian living there, or a Greek. Okay, so
Guess you're ready to sign some books?
thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure.